This program is brought to you by Rogers Xfinity, connecting you to more of what you love. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
And welcome everyone, RTV Sports Rap back again. And as we said last week, the OHL Playoff Preview would be this episode. We didn't know if Owen Sound would be involved. And they're involved. They did slip into the 8th spot. I actually went back and rewatched our preview show for the OHL season. I did say they'd slip into the 8th and 7th seeds. Lucas and I were the optimists, saying they get over 30 wins with the Attack. They fell short. 26 wins was the final total for Owen Sound, but a 8th place finish in the Western Conference, which means a first round matchup with the 112-point London Knights. So obviously, the toughest matchup in the OHL playoffs is, again, Spencer Byers here alongside me is Manny Pava, Lucas Ireland, Adrian Musso, as well as JC Coots. Gentlemen, obviously the OHL has been red hot for us the last couple of weeks, and now it culminates into the OHL playoffs starting later this week. I know the Owen Sound series starts on Friday, so big series coming up, JC, for our Owen Sound Attack. And I think the first question kind of has to just be, what are your expectations going into a series that really is stacked against the Attack against London?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look good. And the season series told us a lot. That last game that Owen Sound played in London, where London just drilled them by a score of 9-1, kind of reminds you of what the separation is in talent between those two teams. But that said, Owen Sound, they played their best hockey down the stretch. They really have. This is a group that really believes in what they do. And you've got Carter George, who might actually be able to steal a game or two in this series. I don't see Owen Sound winning as much as the optimist that this lives in the small part of my brain would like to think would happen, but maybe it's a game or two. I don't know that it goes necessarily much longer than 5 games. I hope for the kids, and when I say the kids, I mean the rookies on the Attack team who work so hard to help get them to where they are. I hope that it's not a sweep for their sake and that they get a win or two and get that playoff experience. Maybe give the crowd at the Bayshore something to really cheer about, although they've had a lot to cheer about the last few games at home. But yeah, it's going to be a tough one. This is a London Knights team that right now is a runaway train. They're only in it for one thing, and that's to win the Memorial Cup. And anybody to knock them off of that between now and June is going to be tough to do.
That it is. Hopefully, again, as you mentioned there, JC, if Owen Sound does steal a game, which you mentioned would probably be because of Carter George, hopefully that is at the Bayshore, which has been rather good for the Attack in the last month and a half or so. Adrian, kind of, what do you see this series between London looking like for Owen Sound?
2 years ago, nobody gave the Kitchener Rangers any chances when they went up against the big, bad, mighty Windsor Spitfires and Shane Wright. And Manny Pava, how many games did Shane Wright and the Windsor Spitfires win in that series, 1-8?
The big goose egg.
Oh, a big 0. It was a reverse sweep. Nobody saw that one coming. I'm just saying, there's always hope.
Now, let's be honest, though, guys. That Kitchener team was not an 8th place team.
No, Francesco or Curry, they had so many talented players on that Kitchener Rangers team. We were all shocked that they fell to 8th in the first place.
Right? I couldn't believe it either.
Yeah.
That shocked me.
Because they fired their coach, remember that season? Injuries played a big factor for the Rangers. They were a top 3 team in the conference that year. I'm giving Owen Sound a chance just because they're battle-tested over the last 3 weeks. There's a team that has been basically playing playoff hockey for the last 3 weeks, and I feel that will give them some momentum. They've shown that they can battle adversity going from out of the playoffs into the playoff picture. Now, am I giving them a chance to beat London and win 4 games against the Knights? No, I think London prevails, but I do think Owen Sound will give London all they can handle.
Well, Lucas, I want to give you a chance to talk, obviously, about Owen Sound London, but you also obviously have Kitchener, who had 100 points. The second straight year of the Western Conference has 2 teams over 100 points. The Kitchener Rangers will take on the Flint Firebirds in the first round. I guess give me your thoughts on Owen Sound first, and then kind of pivot into how you look at the Kitchener series going into the first round.
Sure. Well, obviously, I would love to see Owen Sound do well in the series, but I don't see it. I don't see it happening. I mean, the Knights swept the season series 6-0 against the Attack. Obviously, they're the best team in the OHL. They have been for years. That's never been in question. And we knew whoever placed eighth was going to play them from a long, or not even that long into the series. We knew that was going to be the case. And unfortunately for Owen Sound, it is them. Now, of course, we're glad they're in the playoffs at all. Thankfully for the Sarnia loss in the last game of the season for them. But something for me that I look at is some of the top players on the team as far as points go. For London, you have Sam Dickinson at 91, Denver Barkey at 82, Sam O'Reilly at 71. On the attack side, Landon Hookey had 70, Pierce Bowie had 52, and James Petrovsky had 41. Great seasons from all of those players. My goalie predictions for this is going to be Austin Elliott versus Carter George. And if Owen Sound does win a game, I would have to agree with the fact that Carter George be a big part of that. He's a fantastic goalie. I think he can definitely steal a game or two in there, but I don't see the victory going to Owen Sound after round one. As for Kitchener versus Flint, that's going to be an interesting series for me to keep an eye on. The Rangers went 3-1 in the season series against the Firebirds. And with Parsons having the year that he had in net for the Rangers, I mean, it's for me, it's almost impossible to bet against him. He too is an incredible goalie, one of the best goalies in the league this year. As far as points go, Mislojevic 69, Swick 61, Pridham 54, and Pridham just came in 20, 30 games into the season. He's been doing phenomenal for Kitchener. I've been really happy with the way he's performed. For Flint, Sam McHugh, 55, Caden Petrie, 55, and Christopher Thibodeau with 50. So some of Flint's top guys as well having some very solid seasons. The goaltending tandem, there's going to absolutely be Jackson Parsons versus Nathan Day. We've seen those two goalies battle it out between the two teams in the past. It's going to be a great battle. It's going to be a great series, and I think it's going to be Kitchener taking that one in 6.
Well, you mentioned Sam McHugh there. Obviously, a former attacker, I believe he basically averaged a goal per game in Flint. I believe he played basically 20 games, had, I believe, 16 to 18 goals for the Firebirds. So he's been red hot since the trade at the trade deadline to Flint, who now again are in 6th place. Man, I do want to go to you with Windsor, as they are the 2nd place team in the Western Conference. 96 points is what they finished with because they clinched the division. They get a first round matchup with the Sioux Greyhounds. I guess, what do you look at right now for Windsor and kind of their look towards a Western Conference finals matchup with London, you'd expect, if that's the way things fall?
Yeah, I expect Windsor will dispatch of the Sioux Greyhounds in 5 games. I'll give the Greyhounds a game up in the Sioux. However, I think the top 3 teams in the Western Conference are London, Kitchener, and Windsor. The second round matchup, if all goes according to plan, will be Kitchener versus Windsor, and I think that'll be a battle. I think Jackson Parsons is an outstanding goaltender. Even though Austin Elliott went 32-1 this year, which is crazy to say, I think Jackson Parsons still should win goaltender of the year, even though another goalie went 32-1. I think he is the difference for the Kitchener Rangers. Windsor and Kitchener split the season series, but Kitchener's won the last 2. Windsor won the first 2. So I think that's going to be an outstanding series. I'll pick the Spitfires in 7 just because of their offensive depth. Ilya Protas and Liam Greentree are outstanding. But I think, boy, that's going to be a tremendous series. See, guys, I'm already looking to the second round of the playoffs.
Well, Manny, one thing I think is interesting with that Sioux series is Liam Greentree will be suspended for game 1 against the Greyhounds. I don't exactly expect that will do much against the Spits with how good they are and how talented they are up front especially, but it'll be interesting to see how that does affect them in game 1 down in Windsor. Now,
he will not be suspended. His 2-game suspension is up.
His 2-game suspension is up? Okay, perfect. I didn't know if that would translate over or if it was finished just before the end of the regular season. But anyway, with that, Manny, I will now ask you: do you see London as the team that is destined to go to the or the OHL championship? Pardon me, for a second year in a row to represent the Western Conference?
Yeah, I think so. I think some scouts around the rink describe them as an AHL team at times. And it's not to say that they won't lose a playoff game. I just think it'll be difficult to beat them in a 7-game series. I think London is the cream of the crop so to speak. The only thing that may derail the Knights, injuries and suspensions. If they do get down, London loses their temper a little bit, and you never know what will happen. We saw them sort of um, lose their minds, I guess you can say at times, against the Saginaw Spirit in last year's playoffs, and the Memorial Cup could happen again. London's team is pretty much the same team as last year.
They were the third most penalized team in all of the OHL for a reason, only behind two teams that had 1,000 in Sudbury and the Saginaw Spirit. Now, guys, I'm just going to openly ask the question. If anyone's got a name, I'd love to hear it. Does anyone think that London isn't going to be the representative of the Western Conference in the OHL Championship? Because we'll move to the East if nobody's got one.
The Owen Sound attack.
Love it, Adrian. Love it. Pierce Bowie as the MVP. I love it. Now we will move
16-0 London Knights. They're going to be incredible.
I think 16-1 because I think the team coming out of the East is going to be a very good hockey team as they have some very, very top end talent in the East. Right now, the number one seed is the Brantford Bulldogs, which a couple people on this show predicted. Brampton was the other big one. They ended up fifth in the Eastern Conference, pardon me, but it was a three-way tie between second, third, and fourth, technically tied for second with Kingston, Barrie, and Oshawa. Oshawa will match up with Brampton in the 4-5 seed game. So I'll start with you, Adrian. Who do you see as maybe the best team in the East, and who do you think will kind of represent the East in the OHL Championship?
I've been pretty consistent with my answer throughout the year, and it's been the Kingston Frontenacs of the Western Conference, a team that hasn't done very much in its history in that Eastern Conference, but I really do like their depth at forward. I really like how Cedric Guindon really came into that team and taking it by control, showed the way. But as we know, as we followed his career, and Owen Sound Attack fans know, he was one of the only ones to show up in the playoffs as well. In the past years, when others did not perform in playoffs, Cedric Guindon was about a point per game player. So now he's on a better team with more offensive talent. And I think the most underrated player in the entire OHL is on that team in Emil Pianyemi. I think he's the best defenseman in the OHL as an all-around game. I really like the fact that they went and got Charlie Schenkel at the deadline and got rid of Nolan Lalonde just to give themselves a little bit of a 1-2 punch in net if anything were to happen. But he is their starter. He will be their starter on game one. So I really like Troy Mann and the way that he runs that organization as a more of a professional organization coming down from the AHL, and so he has that knowledge in his book as well as the head coach of the team. So for me, it's the Kingston Frontenacs. I don't like Barrie. I don't think they're that good. I don't like Sudbury. I think they're just too much run and gun. So the one team that I would watch out for, it really would be the Brantford Bulldogs. But to me, if you can shut down Nick Lardis, I think you can shut down the Brantford Bulldogs.
What about you, JC? Your team coming out of the East after it's all said and done?
I really agree with everything Adrian just said, and also the fact too that they added some experience at the deadline, bringing in some players from Saginaw who know what it's like to go on a long run and win a championship. All of those factors combined, I think Kingston's the team. I mean, if you look at the East, Sudbury kind of did not have the best stretch, and they're going to run into a very hot Kingston team. Niagara obviously just stumbled into the playoffs as the battalion. Sudbury's more favorable matchup actually would have been for them to finish seventh and maybe face Barrie, because they are a team that, despite what they look like on paper, do have some flaws and can be beaten. I think Owen Sound's proven that a few times in the last couple of weeks. The really interesting matchup for me is that 4-5 matchup, Oshawa and Brampton. I mean, all season long, Brampton hasn't performed anywhere near what we all know they are capable of doing. They're a team that went out and acquired Carson Rakoff. They beefed up everywhere. We know they acquired Connor Smith, who just had a 5-point game the other night, 3 goals and 2 assists. And we knew that they were going to come in at some point on a hot streak. They're coming in with 6 wins in a row. They're not too far separated in the standings from Oshawa. So That's going to be an interesting series. That could be a 7-game series, and that might be the most intriguing series in the first round. I think of the East and the West to watch. I'm definitely going to be watching a few of those games to see what happens there. I don't know if that one is a toss-up, it's a coin flip, or what, but I could see that being an upset there in favor of the Steelheads. But I think it's going to be Kingston. Otherwise, I would be shocked if we don't see a London-Kingston final.
What about you, Manny? Who do you like coming out of the Eastern Conference?
Wow, a lot of Kingston love from the boys here, but let me just point out for the last month, guys, Kingston beat all the bottom dwellers, but they lost to all the top teams. Just in the month of March, they played Windsor and lost. They played London and lost. They played Barrie and lost. They played Brantford and lost. They played Brampton and lost. Who did Kingston beat in the last month? Peterborough, Ottawa, Peterborough, Ottawa, Niagara. So, as much as you guys love Kingston, I just don't know if they're going to beat the teams when it comes down to the bottom line. I really like
I agree with you, Manny. However, all of the teams have question marks everywhere.
100%. Like I like Barry's goaltending, but their North Bay line hasn't produced offensively. I'm still waiting for them to figure it out. Oshawa has not performed up to the level that we expected them to be. Brampton, as JC mentioned, seems to have found his groove, and it's the Jake O'Brien and Nick Lardis show in Brantford. If you can shut those guys down, who else do they have? I'm going to go out on a limb here and say the winner of the Oshawa-Brampton series is going to win the East.
Interesting. Okay, so the winner of Oshawa Brampton, I would like to mention Ryerson Leanders with the Brantford Bulldogs has been very good for the last couple of months. He's really picked up his game as the season has gone on for Brantford, just as I thought we all kind of expected he would have coming from Brampton, but obviously it took him a little bit of time to seemingly acclimate to Brantford. Now, Lucas, who do you like coming out of the East?
Well, before I get to that, I just want to go back to that Oshawa Brampton series real quick. One thing I'm looking forward to that the most is the goaltending duel between Jack Ivankovic and Jacob Oster. I think that's going to be really fun to watch. As for who do I think is going to win, I'm kind of surprised nobody went with the top team in the Bulldogs or with Brantford, and that's where I'm going to go. And the reason I say that is because I think that, yes, obviously teams are going to want to try and stop Nick Lardis as much as possible. I don't think it's going to be that easy. I mean, 71 goals this season for Lardis is incredible, absolutely incredible. 117 points for him. As you mentioned, Leanders, he had himself a really good, especially last few games with Brantford. Obviously, he didn't start with Brantford this year, but it takes some time to kind of get acclimated, get used to the team, and he's done well. He's had a really good season himself. Patrick Thomas, 104 points. Jake O'Brien, 98 points. I don't know. I think that with Leanders in net and with the team that they have up front, the amount of points, the scoring that they can get on all of these teams, I just don't see anyone else being able to beat them.
Well, I think we can end off with I suspect
Such
everyone
a front
thinks
runner.
I think everyone's going to pick London to beat Brantford or Brampton/Oshawa or even Kingston in the OHL final. Guys, last question I'm going to have for you, and we'll go start with you, Lucas, is there any team you think will surprise? And I mean, I honestly think a surprise is probably 4 down, and that is, maybe Brampton and or Oshawa, Saginaw may be in there. Any team you think will shock people in the OHL playoff and maybe cause an upset or two that are maybe a lower seed?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, there's definitely chances, of course. I mean, Brampton, I think, could definitely be considered a team that could come up with an upset or two and maybe even make it all the way to the conference final. I mean, who really knows? Playoffs are a different animal. I mean, it's a little less of a possibility for me, but I could see Erie doing it as well, beating Saginaw. It would be a tough hill to climb, especially because Saginaw just won the Memorial Cup last year, and they're going to have that kind of experience. But I could see that. But I mean, the biggest surprise that I would absolutely love to see, of course, is Owen Sound beating London. incredible for us to talk about on the show for sure.
I think that would put a lot of people in cardiac arrest.
That is, I think it
Wouldn't
put
surprise
us
me.
in cardiac arrest. I think us at the rink we'd be on defibrillators. We'd have to call up the ambulance to come save me in the control
There
room.
wouldn't
My
be
goodness.
enough at the Graybruce Hospital
That is
or
very
that
true.
right
They'd have to
I'd be
call
making some
Wiretape. They'd
calls
have
up
to
there to
call
make sure
Meaford.
you guys are okay. Make
Yeah,
sure you're
yeah.
doing good.
We'd have to get the telephone like we're in the NFL. Now I'll go to you, Manny. Any upsets you kind of see? Any teams you think may surprise in the first round?
Yeah, I've been keeping an eye on the Otters and Matthew Schaefer. Is he going to be back in the Otters lineup? I know he's skating with the team. I just think the experience from Saginaw will pull away there. Uh, I know I said earlier that the Oshawa Brampton series will decide who wins the East. I actually like Brampton to upset there. I don't think it's much of an upset, but they are the 5 seed. So by your rules, Spencer, I'm going to go Brampton.
They are a lower seed. I'll give you that. JC, any upsets you kind of see in the first round?
No, I would honestly be shocked if any of the bottom 4 teams in the West are able to advance. And Brampton's really the only one that possibly could, on paper, just because they're the 5th seed, be an upset in the East. I think there's just a bit of a gap between those teams when you get to home ice advantage and not. And unfortunately, it's going to be a tough go for any 5th seeder down unless you're the Brampton Steelheads.
Adrian, anybody you think may surprise?
Not in the first round. However, watch out in the second round. You're going to have Kitchener and Windsor playoff, but in the other matchup, the Saginaw Spirit going against the London Knights, which was the Western Conference Finals the year before. If there's any team that's going to beat the Knights, in my opinion, it's going to be the Saginaw Spirit. That experience, that rivalry that they had, they beat them in the Mem Cup Finals. It was a different team that they had. They had a lot of different players. Jordan Donovan, Owen Beck, among others, are off that roster. But Michael Meese's amazing season, if anybody can go toe-to-toe with the London Knights, I think it's going to be the Saginaw Spirit. Andrew Oak will have to play out of his mind. However, or it's Caleb Papineau, sorry. Pardon me. Caleb Papineau has been the guy there, and Andrew Oak has kind of disappeared. But he'll have to play out of his mind. However, if there's any upset that's going to happen for the London Knights, it's going to be the Saginaw Spirit. I'd love to see it.
Who wouldn't, Adrian? Especially no one sound. Who wouldn't? I will now move over to the NCAA. Obviously, men's and women's March Madness is in full effect. There's a couple days off now going into the Sweet 16s. I will mention quickly off the top, the USC's chances in the women's brackets almost dead, you'd say, with Juju Watkins tearing her ACL in the round of 32 game, which is so disappointing to see, as that sophomore is one of the best players in the nation and will be a star at the WNBA level when she declares if that's next year or the year after out of USC. I will stick to the men's bracket, however, because there's been very little upsets. I mean, the only low seed in the Sweet 16 is Arkansas, headed by Coach Calipari. So not a lot of upsets to me, not a lot of interesting games to me, relatively speaking, but that means a lot of top seeds are playing each other. And I'm looking at matchups like Alabama and BYU, which is going to be a track meet. Those two teams love to score and don't play defense. Alabama does not play defense. They're terrible. They're horrible. They're god-awful. They're horrific at playing defense. So that's going to be a 100 to 102 game without even going to overtime. So I'll kind of open it up. Manny, I'll let you start. Any matchup you like going into the Sweet 16?
Listen, my brackets are still alive. So I love the fact that I still have Florida in it. I've got Florida winning it all. I'd love to see Michigan State meet in the South bracket. I think that would be a fantastic Big Ten matchup. They have obviously a long history, tremendous rivalry, close proximity to one another. I think that would be a fantastic matchup. Will it happen? We'll wait and see.
Well, Adrian, any matchups you like going into the Sweet 16?
I'm with Manny. As a Michigan fan, I want to see Michigan State. Michigan's going to roll over Auburn, and then Michigan State's going to be right there. And then all of my cousins that were posting, oh, who's the little brother now when they beat us in the regular season? Big Ten champs over here. Wolverines, Big Ten champs. And then we're going to dust you in the tournament to go to the Final Four. Hail to the victor. Anyways, aside that, I had Michigan winning it all. That was 100% a homer pick from the start, but they look good. So, I mean, I don't follow that much college basketball. My other surprise team that I had going to the as deep, and they're doing well, is BYU. So we'll see.
I mean, Vladislav Golden and Dusty May of FAU on their miracle run 2 years ago are continuing that here with Michigan. And I think Golden versus Johnny Broome, one of the best players in the country, will be the matchup between Auburn and Michigan. JC, how do your brackets look, and what do you like for the Sweet 16?
Oh, every year I always put Gonzaga to finish first because, I mean, the name is hilarious and I love fictional places, so it would be great to see them win every year, but they went out, unfortunately, in the second round. So I really like Michigan, as the boys have already mentioned. I think my Final Four would probably be like Michigan, Duke, the Gators, and Kentucky. And I'm only going to root for Florida because they've got a Canadian on the roster, 7'9" Oliver Ryu. He's not going to play, but man, that kid's a giant.
It's kind of crazy, though. Everybody in warm-up just stares at him, and he's not even playing. He's redshirting. So the whole it's great strategy by Florida.
Illinois got a big-time Canadian. His mom was wearing a Canadian jersey in the standings in one of their games. It was fantastic.
Well, all I have to say is my pick on the show, Purdue, is still in, and they got a big matchup against the Houston Cougars, and I love Kaufman-Renn and Braden Smith have continued their stellar play from the regular season into the tournament play. We'll now quickly go over to baseball. We don't have a lot of time, so I'll start with you, Lucas. Blue Jays didn't do a lot. Not sure how much optimism. I remember J.C. Coots had a rant on this very show about the Blue Jays. Do you think the Blue Jays make the playoffs?
No, absolutely not. I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, like you said, nothing really changed. If you want to make the playoffs after years that you don't make the playoffs, you got to make some changes. And there isn't a whole lot. I mean, yeah, sure, you get a few new pitchers. The opening day roster is going to look slightly different. And I guess the guys that, they added did prove to, fit in well enough. But in the long run, I don't see it. As a Jays fan myself, I want to see them in the playoffs, but you got to make changes. And they didn't do what I think they needed to do to at least give me more confidence that they would make it to the postseason.
JC, I don't have enough time for another rant, but quick thoughts. Blue Jays in or out of the MLB postseason?
They're out, and a lot of experts are picking either them or the Rays to finish in the basement in the AL East. And honestly, if we get 80 wins, I think that might be a miracle this year.
Adrian and/or Manny, either of you think the Jays somehow make the playoffs?
Tigers win the AL. Let's go on to the next one.
Tarek Skubal, the star ace for the Troy Tigers.
Jack Flaherty. Like, we can keep going. Javi Baez is going to play every single position this year. It's going to
and he's going to hit 188 and have no homers and have a slugging percentage under.
Comeback player of the year.
Comeback player of the year. Yeah. He'll hit 224 and be the comeback player of the year.
He'll be comeback player of the year hitting 220. It's going to be magical. He's going to be the worst player in baseball and still be comeback player of the year with how bad he's been in Detroit. But anyway, for Adrian Musso, Manny Fava, Lucas Ireland, JC Coots, and myself, sponsored buyers, and the great Mark Perry behind the camera, we'll see you next week on RTV Sports Rap.
Go Tigers!
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
You're watching an interesting local show on Rogers TV and you want to know more. That's when you head to rogerstv.com. Our website provides more information about our programs, our hosts, our schedule, and about how you too can get involved with Rogers TV. Visit us online at rogerstv.com.
Saturdays, it's hockey like you've never seen before. Welcome to the NHL Hockeyverse. It's the place where real data of NHL action is transformed, literally, into animations. Combining NHL Edge, puck, and player